straight.
It's a bad deal.
Straight. All praises. All praises. We go ahead and get started, yo. And get started by giving all praises, all honor, all glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his only begotten Son, Jesus the Christ.
Right.
Secondly, I want to say to all of my brothers, all of my sisters out there, greetings and shalom. My name is Chief Priest Lithiyel ben Israel.
Shalom Israel. My name is Priest Ron ben Israel.
And we are with the Holy Nation of Israel. And we are back again with another lesson. We're back again with another topic. But before we get into it, I want all of my peoples out there to get your Bibles, get your Apocryphas, read along with us if you can. Get your notebooks, get your pens, get your pencil, get your papers. Take notes if it is in your spirit. Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson that I am going to entitle The Man of God and the Old Prophet. And we're going to open up in Romans 15.
The book of Romans chapter 15, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
Whatsoever things were written aforetime in this Bible. This is talking about the histories that you find in this Bible. Read it again.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
These things, these histories that you find in the Bible, in the Word of God, these things were written for our learning. They were written for our education and our edification. Keep reading.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures,
read.
Might have hope.
That we might have hope. So let's go ahead and get into the class. Give me the book of 1 Kings chapter 13. Let's start at verse 1.
Book of 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 1. And behold, there came a man of God out of Judah.
Read.
By the word of the Lord unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense.
And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. So before we get into the class dealing with the man of God and the old prophet, I want to deal with Jeroboam. You know, a little history concerning Jeroboam. Let's go to chapter 11 and let's read verse 26.
Book of 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 26. And Jeroboam the son of Nebat, the Ephrathite,
yep.
of Zorida, Solomon's servant.
Read it again.
And Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
And Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Read.
An Ephrathite.
An Ephrathite. Jeroboam was an Ephrathite. What is an Ephrathite? Well, an Ephrathite is a citizen of Ephratah, yo. Let me say it again. An Ephrathite was a citizen of Ephratah. And to prove that, we're going to go to the Bible Dictionary, William and Smith, page 178. And this right here is the definition of Ephrathite. It says, an inhabitant of Bethlehem. So an Ephrathite was an inhabitant of Bethlehem. An Ephrathite was a person who had citizenship or citizenry in Bethlehem. Now, we'll go to BibleStudyTools.com. This is for Ephrathite. It says, a citizen of Ephrathah, the old name of Bethlehem. The old name of Bethlehem. So an Ephrathite was a citizen of Ephrathah. Someone of Bethlehem, yo. Hey, read 1 Kings 11 and 26 again.
1 Kings chapter 11, verse 26. And Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
And Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Read.
An Ephrathite.
An Ephrathite. Jeroboam had citizenship in Ephratah. Ephratah was later on known as Bethlehem. Read it one more time.
And Jeroboam the son of Nebat. An Ephrathite of Zerida.
He was an Ephrathite of Zerida. He was an Ephrathite of Zerida. So what is Zerida? We're going to go back to the Bible Dictionary, William and Smith, page 763. Definition for Zerida. It says, the native place of Jeroboam. So Jeroboam was born in Zerida. I'm going to jump down. It says Zerida was according to the repeated statement of the LXX, which is talking about the Septuagint, on Mount Ephraim. So Zerida was a city in Mount Ephraim. Read 1 Kings 11 and 26 one more time.
1 Kings chapter 11, verse 26. And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite.
Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, was an Ephrathite. He had citizenship in Ephrathah. Read.
Of Zerida.
Of Zerida. He was born in Zerida. Zerida was in Mount Ephraim. Read.
Solomon's servant.
He was Solomon's servant. He worked for King Solomon. Read.
Whose mother's name was Zeruiah.
And his mother's name was Zeruiah. Read.
A widow woman.
And she was a widowed woman. Her husband Nebat was dead. Jeroboam's father was dead. Keep reading.
Even he lifted up his hand against the king.
Even Jeroboam lifted up his hand against the king. Even Jeroboam rebelled against Solomon. That's what that's saying. Keep reading.
And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king.
And now we're about to read about the reason for Jeroboam's rebellion. We're about to read the story of his rebellion against the king, against King Solomon. Keep reading.
Solomon built Millo and repaired the breaches of the city of David.
So Solomon built Millo and repaired the breaches of the city of David. I want to talk about the city of David. This is the Bible Dictionary. This is the Bible Dictionary, Zondervan Bible Dictionary. We're going to go to page 223. We're going to read definition of the city of David. There's two definitions. The first one, it says, the Jebusite fortress of Zion that David captured and named the city of David. The second definition, Bethlehem, the home of David. So I want to deal with both, but we're going to deal with the first one first. I'm going to read it again. It says, the Jebusite fortress of Zion that David captured and named the city of David. So let's get the definition of Zion real quick. This is also in the Bible Dictionary, Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It says Zion, one of the hills on which Jerusalem stood. It is first mentioned in the OT, or the Old Testament, as a Jebusite fortress. 2 Samuel chapter 5, 6 through 9. Give me that history real quick. 2 Samuel chapter 5. It said David captured it and called it the city of David. Let's read about that history right there. Let's read about this history of David capturing this Jebusite fortress, this stronghold of Zion. Read that for me real quick.
2 Samuel chapter 5 and verse
6.
And verse 6. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land.
And the king and his men went unto Jerusalem. This is talking about David and his men. Keep reading.
Which spake unto David.
Which spake unto David. Let's see what these Jebusites said to David. Read. Saying what?
Except thou take away the blind and the lame.
Read.
Thou shalt not come in hither.
Thou shalt not come in hither. Read.
Thinking David cannot come in hither.
Now, this right here is the companion Bible, King James Version. I'm going to read the annotation in here next to, what is that? Verse 6. Because remember, he said, what did he say? Read that again.
Verse 6. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem.
Read.
Unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, which spake unto David, saying.
Saying what?
Except thou take away the blind.
Except you take away the blind from among us, read.
And the lame.
And the lame. They said, unless you take away from us the blind and the lame
and the crippled and the handicapped, read.
Thou shalt not come in hither.
Thou shalt not come in hither. These Jebusites are full of pride, yo.
Yeah, they were talking heavy.
They were talking spicy against David.
They
were arrogant. Hey, I'm going to read this annotation in this companion Bible, right? And it says, saying, what they said must be rendered thus. Thou shalt not come in hither, for the blind and the lame shall drive thee away. By saying, David shall not come in hither. You know what these Jebusites were saying to David? These Jebusites told David that they're handicapped, they're crippled, they're blind, and they're lame is going to keep him out of this city, yo. They're going to stop him from entering into this stronghold. Well, let's see if that was true. Keep reading.
Nevertheless,
Nevertheless, what?
David took the stronghold of Zion.
Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. I guess the handicapped and the crippled and the blind and the lames couldn't keep him out, could they? No, they couldn't keep him out. Nonetheless, David did what? Read that again.
Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. The same is the city of David.
The same is the city of David. The stronghold of Zion, that David took from the Jebusites, he called the city of David. Now, when you read this annotation in the companion Bible, next to verse 7, it says, the stronghold of Zion, i.e., the hill of Ophel, immediately south of Moriah. So the stronghold of Zion, the city of David, was on Ophel. Ophel was immediately south of Moriah. Hey, hold this. Give me the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1. Once again, Ophel was immediately south of Moriah, Mount Moriah. On Mount Moriah, Solomon built the temple. Or let me rephrase, let me say it a different way. Solomon built the temple, God's temple, on Mount Moriah. 2 Chronicles 3 and 1.
2 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1.
Read.
Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, in Mount Moriah.
Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah was immediately north of Ophel. Ophel was immediately south of Moriah, Mount Moriah, where the temple stood, where the temple of the Lord stood. Keep reading.
Where the Lord appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared, in the threshing floor of Ophan the Jebusite.
In the threshing floor of Ophan the Jebusite. So I'm going to go back to the Bible Dictionary, Zondervan, and we're going to look up Ophel. This is on page 736. It says Ophel, properly a hill, but when used with the definite article in Hebrew, it is translated Ophel and refers to a part of Jerusalem. So Ophel was a part of Jerusalem. I'm going to read the caption under the illustration. It says, the hill of Ophel at the southeast corner of the Jerusalem city wall, beyond which is the temple area. So we're going to go back to Zion. Matter of fact, hold on. Go back to 2 Samuel 5. Go back to 2 Samuel chapter 5, and let's read verse 7 again.
2 Samuel chapter 5 and verse 7. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. The same is the city of David.
So David took the stronghold of Zion, meaning he took Ophel, and he called it the city of David. Read.
And David said on that day, Whosoever getteth up to the gutter, and smitteth the Jebusites,
and smiteth the Jebusites. Read.
And the lame and the blind.
He said, smite the lame and the blind. Hey, remember, this is a man after God's own heart, too.
He said, smite the handicapped, smite the crippled. Get the blind, get the lame. Read.
That are hated of David's soul.
Read.
He shall be chief and captain.
He said, you're going to be chief and captain. Read.
Wherefore they said, the blind and the lame shall not come into the house.
Remember, they ran him out. And they said, remember, they ran him out.
So David said, make sure you smite them too. Read.
So David dwelt in the fort and called it the city of David.
Read.
And David built round about from Millo and inward.
And David built round about from Millo and inward. All right, so let's go back to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, the definition of Zion again. It says Zion, one of the hills on which Jerusalem stood. Which hill is this talking about? This is talking about Ophel. This is talking about Ophel. Matter of fact, question. How many hills did Jerusalem stand on? Let's get that real quick. Still in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Let's find that real quick. Here we go. This right here is on page 515. Definition of Jerusalem. The second one. It says the site. It says, geologically speaking, the city rests on 3 hills. So geologically speaking, Jerusalem sits on 3 hills. The 3 hills are the Temple Mount, that's one, which we know as Mount Moriah. The second one is Ophel. Ophel, which is also called the city of David. We just read about David conquering Ophel in 2 Samuel chapter 5. And the third is the Mount of Olives. So when we go back to the definition of Zion again, it says Zion, one of the hills which Jerusalem stood. Zion right here is talking about Ophel. That's what it's talking about, Ophel. It says it is first mentioned in the OT, which is the Old Testament, as a Jebusite fortress. 2 Samuel 5, 6-9. We read that history. David captured it and called it the city of David. I'm going to jump down. It says, when Solomon later moved the ark to the temple on nearby Mount Moriah, the name Zion was extended to take in the temple. Let's read that history. Give me 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 1. Let's read the history about Solomon moving the ark to Mount Moriah. Read that for me real quick.
1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 1. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem.
Unto King Solomon in Jerusalem. Read.
That they might bring up the ark of the covenant.
That they might bring up the ark of the covenant. Read.
Of the Lord, out of the city of David.
Out of the city of David. The ark of the covenant was in the city of David. The stronghold of Zion. Solomon moved it from there. He moved it to Mount Moriah, to the Temple Mount. That's where it was moved to. And then the name Zion was extended to cover Jerusalem, or excuse me, cover Mount Moriah as well. Now, to finish off this definition of Zion, it says Zion came to stand for the whole of Jerusalem. So when Solomon moved the Ark of the Covenant to the Temple Mount, the name Zion, or the word Zion, was extended to cover all of Jerusalem. Now today, Zion is in reference to all of Jerusalem, all of Jerusalem. So we're going to go back to the definition of city of David real quick. Definition of city of David. Remember, I had two definitions. The first one, the Jebusite fortress of Zion that David captured and named the city of David. The second one was Bethlehem, the home of David. Give me Luke 2 and 4 real quick. I'm going to read the definition of Bethlehem also from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It says Bethlehem, a town 5 miles southwest of Jerusalem, in the hill country of Judea. In Jacob's time, it was called Ephratah. In Jacob's time, it was called Ephratah. Remember, before it was called Bethlehem, it was called Ephratah. Jump down. It says, David kept his father's sheep and was anointed king by Samuel. Hence, it was known as the city of David. So let's get that biblical reference. Luke 2 and 4.
Luke chapter 2 and verse 4. Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David.
Unto the city of David. Read.
Which is called Bethlehem.
Which is called Bethlehem. Which is called Bethlehem. Bethlehem was called the city of David as well. But like we said earlier, or like we read earlier, the name Zion, or the word Zion, was extended to cover all of Jerusalem. So let's go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 11. And I believe we was in what, 27.
1 Kings chapter 11 verse 27. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king.
And this was the cause that Jeroboam rebelled against King Solomon. Read.
Solomon built Millo.
Solomon built Millo. Read.
And repaired the breaches of the city of David, his father.
And he repaired the breaches of the city of David, his father. He prepared those breaches of the city of David, his father. Talking about Ophel. And throughout all of Jerusalem. Keep reading.
And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of value.
So Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. He was a strong man and he had guts. He was courageous. He was a mighty man of valor. Read.
And Solomon seemed the young man that he was industrious.
And Jeroboam was industrious. He was a hard worker. A hard worker in building or rebuilding up Millo. And in repairing the breaches in the city of David. Repairing the breaches throughout Jerusalem. He was a hard worker. He was industrious. Read.
He made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph.
So Solomon put Jeroboam in charge of all of the labor force of Joseph. He put him in charge of all of the labor force of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. That's Joseph right there. Keep reading.
And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem.
So it came to pass that when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, read,
that the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, found him in the way, And he had clad himself with a new garment.
With a new garment, he had on new clothes, read.
And they too were alone in the field.
And those two were alone in the field. Ahijah the Shilonite and Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Keep reading.
And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces.
So Ahijah took that new garment that he had and he tore it into 12 pieces. Read.
And he said to Jeroboam,
What did he say?
Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee.
He said, I will give 10 tribes to thee. He will make him king over the 10 tribes of Israel. And to prove that, read verse 37.
Verse 37. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth.
Read.
And shall be king over Israel.
And shall be king over Israel. King over the 10 tribes of Israel. Let's read about his coronation. Give me chapter 12 and verse 20.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 12 and verse 20. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again,
When he was come again from Egypt, read.
that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel.
And they made him king over all Israel. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, was crowned king over the 10 tribes. Read.
There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
But the tribe of Judah only. Go back to chapter 11 and let's read verse 38.
1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 38. And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and will walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments,
Read.
as David my servant did,
Read.
that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure
He
house,
said, I will build you a sure house. Read.
as I built for David,
In the same way he built a sure house for David. Read.
and will give Israel unto thee.
He said, and I will give Israel unto thee. Now the question becomes, did Jeroboam walk in the ways of God? Did he do that which was right in the sight of God? Did he keep God's statutes and commandments as David did? Let's find out. Let's go to chapter 12 and verse 25.
1 Kings chapter 12, verse 25.
Read.
Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein.
And he dwelt therein. So Jeroboam dwelt in Shechem, which is in Mount Ephraim. It's a city or a province in Mount Ephraim. Read.
And went out from thence, and built
Penuel. He went out
Penuel.
and built up Penuel as well. Read.
And Jeroboam said in his heart,
And Jeroboam said in his heart, he said this to himself in his own heart. Read.
Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David.
Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. So this man, Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, this once mighty man of valor, is now leaning towards his own understanding. This mighty man of valor is now become a fool, a foolish man. Give me the book. Why is he a fool? Give me Proverbs 28 and 26. Why is he a fool? Remember, Jeroboam said in his own heart. He said this to himself in his own mind. And he trusted in this thing. That makes Jeroboam a fool. Read that real quick.
Proverbs chapter 28, verse 26. He that trusteth in his own heart
He that trusteth in his own heart, read,
is a fool.
is a what?
Is a fool.
That's a foolish man or a foolish woman, yo. If you trust in your own heart, you are a fool. Keep reading.
But whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered.
But those that walk wisely, meaning according to God's commandments, they will be delivered. But if you trust in your heart, you're a fool. Why? Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. Jeroboam, he trusted in his heart. He was a fool. Why? This is why. Read that real quick.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things.
It's because the heart is deceitful above all things, yo. The heart is deceitful. It is a liar. The heart lies. And do you know who your heart lies to? It lies to you. Read it again.
The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked.
And desperately wicked. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. If you trust in that, you are a fool. Read.
Who can know it?
You can't know it. There's only one person that can know your heart, and it ain't you. It's not you. It's the Lord. Matter of fact, read the next verse.
Verse 10. I, the Lord, search the heart.
It's the Lord that searches the heart. He searches the heart of men, the minds of men. Read.
I try the reins.
And he's the one who tries the reins.
He can try the reins because he knows the heart. Because he searched the heart. Keep reading.
Even to give every man according to his ways.
Even to give to every man according to his ways, yo. If you trust the heart, you are a fool. Is that in that verse?
No.
Finish it out.
And according to the fruit of his doings.
And according to the fruit of his doings. If you trust your heart, you yourself, you are a fool, yo. You are a foolish man. The Bible tells you your heart or your mind will tell you more than 7 watchmen. Let's get that scripture real quick. Let's get that scripture real quick in Sirach. The Bible tells you about your mind, about your heart. Because the heart is the mind. The heart is the mind. Sirach chapter 37 and verse 14. If you trust in your heart, you're a fool. You can't know your own heart. Read that real quick.
The book of Sirach, chapter 37, verse 14. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above and in high tower.
You know what that word want means? W-O-N-T? It means routinely or customly. Your mind will tell you more than 7 watchmen sitting above in a high tower. You can never know that thing. You can't know that thing, yo. All your own understandings or what you believe to be your own understandings, that's foolishness. That's why the Bible says, lean not to your own understandings.
Facts, though.
Your opinions mean nothing. Read that real quick in Sirach chapter 3 about the opinion. Where does your opinion come from? Your heart? From your mind? Your opinions are about your thoughts, and that's why the Bible says this about your opinion. Read that.
Sirach chapter 3, verse 24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion.
Many are deceived by their own vain opinion. Jeroboam was deceived through his own vain opinion, yo.
Facts.
His own opinion deceived him and tricked him, yo, out of a sure kingdom. Read it again.
For many are deceived by their own vain opinion. And an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment.
And an evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Let's go back and read about Jeroboam again. 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 26.
Hey, let me get a precept real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Do your thing.
Hey, go back to Sirach. Get Sirach 16 and verse 23. Just to go over what priest was bringing out.
The book of Sirach chapter 16, verse 23.
Uh-huh.
He that wanteth understanding will think upon vain things.
According to the Bible, some of our people that want understanding, they would basically think of vain things, useless things. Keep reading.
And a foolish man.
Because this is the point. A foolish man what?
Erring imagineth foolish.
Folly. Yep, folly, which is foolish things. That's all they imagine. That's all they mind think of.
And where do those imaginations come from? His own heart. Comes right out your own mind. Hey, get Mark chapter 7 just in case somebody is confused too about us saying that the heart is the mind. Because somebody might be like, well, I never heard of this before. Read that real quick.
Mark chapter 7 and verse 21. For from within, out of the heart of men.
From within, out of the heart of men, read.
Proceed evil thoughts.
Proceed evil thoughts, yo. Evil thoughts come out of the hearts of men. You're not going to have evil thoughts coming out of this this organ that's in your chest. No. Thoughts come out of your mind. Thoughts come out of your mind. Your heart is your mind, yo. Hey, let's go back to talking about Jeroboam. 1 Kings 11 and 26 again.
1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 26. And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, the Ephrathite, of Zerida, Solomon's servant, whose mother name.
Hold on, I ain't 126. 12 and 26.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 26. And Jeroboam said in his heart.
And Jeroboam said in his own heart. Read.
Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David.
Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. Like the bro just brought out, he was just imagining follies, yo. He was imagining folly right now, yo. Keep reading.
If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah.
Read.
And they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah.
So this once mighty man of valor has now become a foolish, fearful man. He's no longer operating in the spirit of the Lord, Joe. The Lord is no longer dealing with this man. He's now fearful. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. We know the Lord's not dealing with him because of this fear that he has right here. Read this real quick.
2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear.
God has not given us the spirit of fear, yo. If you're operating in the spirit of God, then you're not operating in the spirit of fear. You're not going to be timid. You're not going to be afraid if you're operating in the spirit of God. Read it again.
For God hath not given us the spirit of fear,
Read.
but of power,
The Lord gives us a spirit of power. Read.
and of love,
And a spirit of love. Read.
and of a sound mind.
And the spirit of a sound mind. That's what the Lord gives to us. When you're operating in the spirit of the Lord, you have a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and a spirit of a sound mind, a sound heart. That's what that's saying, yo. Is that in that verse?
Yes.
All praises. Hey, let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 12, and let's read verse 28.
1 Kings chapter 12, verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel, and made 2 calves of gold,
Whereupon Jeroboam took counsel and made 2 calves of gold. Read.
and said unto them,
And said what?
It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold, thy gods, O Israel.
Behold thy gods, O Israel. These 2 calves of gold. This was a foolish man erring, imagining follies. Just like the bro just brought out. Talking about 2 golden calves that they just made are your gods. Keep reading.
Which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. That's
Disrespect.
foolish, yo.
Disrespect.
That's stupidity, yo.
Yeah.
That's a foolish, fearful man right there. That's what happens when you fall into folly and when you fall into fear, yeah? Real talk. Keep reading.
And he set the one in Bethel.
So he set one of these idols in Bethel. Bethel means the house of God. Read.
And the other put he in Dan.
And the other idol he put in Dan, in the providence of Dan. Read.
And this thing became a sin.
And this thing became a sin. This thing became sin. Why? Keep reading.
For the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Because the people went to worship these idols, especially at Dan, especially the idol that Jeroboam placed in Dan. This thing became a sin. It became a sin to the people. Remember, sin is the transgression of the law. Give me the law. Exodus 34. Exodus 34 and verse 14. Sin is the transgression of the law. These brothers and sisters worshiping in these idols is a transgression of the law. Exodus 34 and 14.
Exodus chapter 34, verse 14. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God.
Thou shalt worship no other God, yo. That's what the law says. That's the commandment. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3.
Exodus chapter 20, in verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Thou shalt have no other gods before the Lord your God, yo. Which is the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of Israel. Keep reading.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above,
Read.
or that is in the earth beneath,
Calves are in the earth beneath, but keep reading.
or that is in the water under the earth.
Read.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them.
If you bow down to any graven image, it's because you worship the graven image. You worship the idol. Read.
Nor serve them.
If you serve any graven image, it's because you worship the graven image. You worship the idol. Keep reading.
For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God.
The Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is a jealous God. His name is jealous. Keep reading.
Visiting the iniquity.
Visiting the what?
The iniquity.
Visiting the iniquity. This is iniquity. This is sin. Keep reading.
Of the fathers upon the children, unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me.
And that right there shows that you hate God. When you put another God before the Lord your God, or when you bow down to idols or graven images. Deuteronomy 6 and 14. Let's get another one real quick. Deuteronomy 6 and 14.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 14. You shall not go after other gods.
Read that again.
Ye shall not go after other gods.
Ye shall not go after other gods. Read.
Of the gods of the people which are round about you.
Keep reading.
Verse 15. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you.
The Lord our God is a jealous God. He is a jealous God. His name is jealous. Read.
Lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth.
And he destroy thee from off the face of the earth. And this is the same thing that God pronounced against Jeroboam and his house. 1 Kings 13. 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 34.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 34. And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam,
Read.
even to cut it off,
Even to cut it off, read.
and to destroy
And
it
to destroy it, read.
from off the face of the earth.
From off the face of the earth. Jeroboam and his house, and subsequently the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, ended up going after these idols, yo. That became a sin to them. A sin to them. Let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 12. Let's read verse 30.
1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 30. And this became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Read.
And he made an house of high places.
So Jeroboam made a house of high places. A house of high places would be equivalent to what you call churches today. Whether those be Pentecostal churches, Seventh-day Adventist churches, Catholic churches, whatever. Or Muslim mosques. Those are high places too. Or those Jewish synagogues of Satan. Those would be equivalent to the high places that Jeroboam built yesterday. Read that again.
And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people.
And he made priests of the lowest of the people. Yeah. Keep reading.
Which were not of the sons of Levi.
And they were not of the sons of Levi. They were not to be of the priesthood. They were not of the sons of Levi. Read.
And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month.
So Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month. He came up with his own feast in the 8th month. Read.
On the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah.
On the 15th day of the month, like the feast that is in Judah. Now, when you read the Bible commentaries and other Bible translations, they're going to tell you that this feast is after the Feast of Tabernacles. But it's not after the Feast of Tabernacles. Hold that. Give me Nehemiah chapter 8. This is not after the Feast of Tabernacles. And we're going to show you why real quick. Nehemiah 8, let's start at verse, 14?
Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 14. And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month.
Read. The feast of the 7th month in which we dwell in booths is the tabernacles. Can you read?
And that they shall publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying,
Saying what?
Go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and myrtle branches, and palm branches,
Read.
and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written.
As it is written. Read.
So the people went forth, and brought them, and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of God,
Read.
and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim.
Keep reading.
And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths, and sat under the
It
booths.
sat under the booths, but this is the point. Read.
For since the days of Jeshua,
For since the days of Jeshua, talking about Joshua, read.
the son of Nun,
Joshua the son of Nun, since the days of Joshua the son of Nun, read.
unto that day,
Until that very day, till that day right here, read.
had not the children of Israel done so.
Had not the children of Israel done so. From the days of Joshua, the son of Nun, all the way up until the time of Ezra, Nehemiah, the children of Israel were not keeping the tabernacles. They were not keeping the feast of booths. They were not keeping it. David didn't keep it. Solomon didn't keep it. Rehoboam, Jeroboam, they did not keep it, yo. Finish the verse.
And there was very great gladness.
And there was very great gladness. So, we know that Jeroboam wasn't emulating Judah regarding the tabernacles. So what was Jeroboam emulating Judah regarding? Give me Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 6. He was emulating the feast of unleavened bread, Joe. That's what he was emulating. Read that real quick.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26.
Verse 6.
Verse 6, Salakia. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread.
On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread. The feast of unleavened bread takes place in the first month of the year on the 15th day. Finish the verse.
Unto the Lord 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation.
And in the first day you shall have an holy convocation. Is that it?
No,
Uh-huh.
ye shall do no servile work therein.
And ye shall do no servile work therein. The first day is a Sabbath.
Jeroboam was emulating the Feast of Unleavened Bread, also known as the Passover. Just to prove that, Luke chapter 22. Luke chapter 22, verse 1. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is also known as the Passover. Read that real quick.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
Which is called the Passover. Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover are synonymous. They are synonyms. They are synonyms. So let's go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and let's read verse 32 again.
1 Kings chapter 12 verse 32. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah.
Like unto the feast that is in Judah, like unto the unleavened bread. Keep reading.
And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made.
Sacrificing unto the calves that he had made. Sacrificing unto these idols. Read.
And he placed in Bethel the priest of the high places, which he had made.
Keep reading.
So he offered upon the altar, which he had made in Bethel, the 15th day of the 8th month.
The 15th day of the 8th month. Read.
Even in the month which he had devised of his own heart.
Even that own holiday that he came up with out of his own mind. Keep reading.
And ordained a feast unto the children of Israel.
Read.
And he offered upon the altar and burned incense.
And he offered upon the altar and burned incense. Chapter 13 and 1.
Verse 1. And behold, there came a man of God out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel.
Read.
And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense.
Yeah, on the 15th day of the 8th month. Keep reading.
And he cried against the altar in the word of the Lord.
So this man of God cried against the altar in the word of the Lord. Read.
And say,
And say what?
O altar, altar, thus saith the Lord, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. And upon thee shall he offer the priest of the high places that burn incense upon thee. And men's bones shall be burnt upon thee.
And men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. Hey, before we continue, question. How do we know if a prophet is a real prophet? Because we want to know if this man is a real prophet. But in order for us to know that, we're going to have to find out how to tell who's a prophet and who isn't, right? Hey, give me Deuteronomy 18:21. Let's start there.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 21. And if thou say in thy heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken?
Read.
When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord,
When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, read.
if the thing follow not,
If the thing doesn't follow, read.
nor come to pass,
Meaning if it doesn't happen, whatever he says doesn't happen, read.
that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken.
That's not something that the Lord has spoken. That man's not a prophet, read.
But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously.
Yeah, this is a false prophet. He spoke this presumptuously. Yep. Can you read?
Thou shalt not be afraid of him.
Thou shalt not be afraid of him. Jeremiah 28. Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. How do we know a real prophet? Well, a real prophet is going to speak things that is going to come to pass. Let me rephrase. A real prophet is going to speak things that are going to come to pass. Jeremiah 28 and verse 8.
Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries.
Read.
And against great kingdoms.
Read.
Of war and of evil and of pestilence.
This is what prophets, real prophets, prophesy about right here. We prophesy against kingdoms and countries. We prophesy of war, evils, and pestilence. Yo, but keep reading.
The prophet which prophesieth of peace.
Read.
When the word of the prophet shall come to pass.
This is the point. When the word of the prophet shall come to pass, read.
Then shall the prophet be known that the Lord hath truly sent him.
How do we know if the Lord has truly sent a prophet? Or if this is a real prophet? Well, a prophet is going to speak about things that are going to actually come to pass, yo. Things that are actually going to come to pass. So let's go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 13. And let's read verse 2 again.
First Kings chapter 13 verse 2. And he cried against the altar.
Talking about the man of God. He cried against the altar that Jeroboam stood by to burn incense. Read.
In the word of the Lord.
In the word of the Lord, read.
And say.
And say what?
O altar, altar, thus saith the Lord.
Read.
Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. And upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee. And men's bones shall be burnt upon thee.
And men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. So let's find out if this man is a real prophet or not. Give me 2 Kings chapter 23. Let's read about this man of God's prophecy coming to pass. 23 and 15.
The book of 2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 15. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, in the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, both that altar and the high place, he brake down
Read.
and burned the high place, and stamped it small to powder, and burned the grove.
And he burned the grove. Keep reading.
And as Josiah turned himself,
And as Josiah turned himself. This is the man that the man of God prophesied about in 1 Kings chapter 13. He gave you that man's name, yo. He told you that man's name. Read that part again, verse 16.
and as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount,
Read.
and sent, and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar.
Just like the man of God said. This is according to the prophecy of the man of God. He took out those bones, and he burned them upon the altar. Keep reading.
And polluted it, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words.
Was that man of God that proclaimed these words a prophet? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Keep reading.
Verse 17. Then he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is the sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah.
The same man of God that came from Judah that we're reading about in 1 Kings 13. Keep reading.
And proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel.
That was the man that prophesied of you doing all the things that you just did. Keep reading.
And he said, let him alone. Let no man move his bones.
So he said, leave his sepulchre alone. Don't touch his bones. Read.
So they let his bones alone.
Read.
With the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria.
With the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria, yo. That's into verse 18?
Yes.
Let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 13. 1 Kings 13, and let's read verse 3 again.
1 Kings chapter 13, verse 3. And he gave a sign the same day,
So this man of God gave another sign the same day. Keep reading.
saying,
Saying what?
this is the sign which the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out.
And the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. This is the second prophecy that this man of God is given to Jeroboam. Read.
And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which he cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar,
Jeroboam took his hand from the altar. Read.
saying,
Saying what?
lay hold on him.
And pointed it at the man of God, and told his guards, his security, lay hold on him. Arrest that man right there. Read.
And his hand, which he had put forth against him,
And the hand that Jeroboam reached out to put forth against the man of God that came from Judah, read.
dried up.
It ended up drying up. It withered up, yo. Like the Edomite butler from Scary Movie.
Right.
Real talk. Keep reading.
So that he could not pull it in again to him.
He couldn't even pull his hand back into himself again. Read.
The altar also was rent,
And the altar also was rent. Read.
and the ashes poured out from the altar,
And the ashes were poured out from the altar. Read.
according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord.
According to that man's prophecy, yo. According to the word of the Lord, yo. 2 times it shows you that this man is a real prophet of God. Keep reading.
And the king answered and said unto the man of God, entreat now the face of the Lord thy God,
He said, entreat now the face of the Lord thy God. Jeroboam's asking for mercy here. Read.
and pray for me,
And pray for me. Read.
that my hand may be restored me again.
That my hand may be healed. Read.
And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again.
So the man of God prayed to the Lord. The Lord's ears were open to that man's prayers. And he healed Jeroboam's hand. He restored his hand. Read.
It became as it was before.
Read.
And the king said unto the man of God, come home with me, and refresh thyself.
And the king, Jeroboam, said to the man of God, come home with me. Eat and drink. That's how you refresh yourself. Read.
And I will give thee a reward.
He said, I'm going to give you a reward as well. Read. A king's reward. Read.
And the man of God said unto the king, if thou wilt give me half thy house,
The man of God said to Jeroboam, you can give me up to half of your house. Read.
I will not go in with thee.
I'm not going in with you. Read.
Neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this
And he
place.
said, I'm not going to eat bread and I'm not going to drink water in this place. Here in Bethel. Read.
For so was it charged me by the word of the Lord, saying,
Saying what?
eat no bread, nor drink water,
Don't eat bread. Don't drink water. Read.
nor turn again by the same way that thou camest.
And you're not allowed to return in the way that you came in. Keep reading.
So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel.
Keep reading.
Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel,
So now there dwelt also an old prophet in Bethel. Read.
and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel.
And his sons, he has sons. And his sons saw all the things that the man of God from Judah did. And then they went back and they told their father, the old prophet. They told their father about the altar renting and the ashes being poured everywhere. They told their father about Jeroboam's hand and how it withered up. And how the man of God prayed for Jeroboam and his hand was restored, it was healed. These sons told their father, this old prophet, everything that happened. Everything they saw. Read.
The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father.
So they also told their father everything that the man of God from Judah told the king. They told their father about the prophecies, about Josiah, and about how, about Josiah and about how men's bones would be burnt on the altar. He told the sons told their father all the things that man of God said. Read.
And their father said unto them, what way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of God went.
And coincidentally, if you believe in coincidences, his sons see the way that the man of God went. The old prophet wanted to know. He wanted to follow. Keep reading.
Which came from Judah. And he said unto him, and he said unto his sons, saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon.
And he rode thereon. Read.
And went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak.
So he found the man of God under an oak tree. Read.
And he said unto him, art thou the man of God that camest from Judah?
Read.
And he said, I am.
He said, I am. Read.
Then he said unto him, come home with me and eat bread.
So this old prophet said to the man of God that came from Judah, come on home with me, yo. Eat bread. Read.
And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee.
Read.
Neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with thee in this place.
Keep reading.
For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, thou shalt eat no bread, nor drink water there.
Thou shalt eat no bread nor drink water there. In that place. In Bethel, yo. Read.
Nor turn again to go by the way that thou camest.
And you cannot return in the same way that you came, yo. Keep reading.
And he said unto him, I am a prophet also.
And this
as thou
old
art.
prophet said, I am a prophet also, as thou art. Now, we already discussed, how do we know if a prophet of God is truly a prophet of God? Well, a true prophet of God is going to prophesy. And the things that he prophesied about are going to come to pass. So we're going to find out later on in the story if this old man is truly a prophet or not. But read that part again.
And he said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord.
He said, and an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord. So an angel came to this old prophet by the word of the Lord. Read.
Saying
what?
Bring him back with thee into thine house.
Saying, bring him back with thee into thine house. Now we see why this old prophet was so quick to saddle his ass to chase after this man of God. Because an angel came to him and told him, yo, when you see this man, bring him back to your house, yo. Bring him back home. Read.
That he may eat bread and drink water.
That he may eat bread and drink water in this place, here in Bethel. Keep reading.
But he lied unto him.
But he lied unto him. Who lied unto who? Now, when you read Christian commentaries and you look into different translations of the Bible, they're going to say that the old prophet lied to the man of God, but it's not. It's actually the angel that lied to the old prophet, yo. And I know that'll blow some people's heads because they'll say, angels lie, angels lie. Mm-hmm. Yes, angels lie, yo. And we're going to prove that. Give me 1 Kings 22. Starting verse 19 from me.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 22 in verse 19. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord.
Read.
I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left.
And all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and
On his left. Hey, Psalm chapter 148 about the host. Who is or what is the host of heaven? Psalm 148, 1 and 2.
Book of Psalms chapter 148 in verse 2.
verse 1.
Verse 1. Praise ye the Lord. Praise ye the Lord from the heavens.
Praise ye the Lord from the heavens. Read.
Praise him in the heights.
Praise him in the heights, in the heavens of the heights. Read.
Praise ye him, all his angels.
Read.
Praise ye him, all his hosts.
Praise ye him, all his hosts. Who praises him in the heavens and in the heights? The angels. Who are his hosts? The angels. The host of heaven are the angels. Go back to 1 Kings 22, read 19 again.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 19. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord.
Hear the word of the Lord. Read.
I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left.
So you have all the host of heaven standing by the Lord on his right hand and on his left. You have angels on the right hand, angels on the left hand. You have good angels, you have evil angels, yo. The angels on the left hand are evil angels. Hold that. Give me Psalms chapter 48. Psalm 78 and 49. You have evil angels on the left hand. We're going to show you in the Bible that you have evil angels too. Read that real quick.
Psalms chapter 78 verse 49. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger,
Read.
wrath,
And
indignation,
indignation. Read.
and trouble.
And trouble. Read.
By sending evil angels,
By sending what type of angels?
evil angels among
By
them.
sending evil angels among them. The host of heaven that was standing on the left hand of the Lord are evil angels. The host of heaven that stand on the right side of the Lord are good angels. Give me that in 2 Maccabees chapter 11. 2 Maccabees chapter 11.
About the good angel real quick. 11 and verse 6.
2 Maccabees chapter 11 and verse 6. Now when they that were with Maccabeus heard that he besieged the holds, they and all the people were lamenting.
Keep reading.
In tears, besought the Lord that he would send a good angel.
That he would send forth what?
A good angel to deliver Israel.
That he would send forth a good angel to deliver Israel. 2 Maccabees 15 and 23.
Book of 2 Maccabees chapter 15 verse 23. Wherefore now also, O Lord of heaven, send a good angel.
What type of angel?
A good angel before us, for a fear and dread unto them.
Send forth a good angel. A good angel. Go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 22 and read 19 again.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 19. And he said,
I'm going to need you to read this annotation too.
All right.
Go ahead.
and he said, Hear thou, therefore, the word of the Lord.
Hear thou, therefore, the word of the Lord. Read.
I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven
All the host of heaven. This is talking about the angels. Read.
standing by him on his right hand
You got some angels on his right hand. Those are good angels. Read.
and on his left.
And then you have some angels on his left hand. Those are evil angels. Keep reading.
And the Lord said,
And the Lord said what?
Who shall persuade Ahab?
Who shall persuade Ahab? Read that annotation.
All right, the annotation in my Bible I have for persuade, deceive.
All praises. So in the annotation, I have the same. It says, or deceive. So read verse 20 again.
Verse 20. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab?
So the Lord said, who among the host of heaven is going to persuade or deceive Ahab? Keep reading.
That he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead.
Read.
And one said on this manner,
And one angel said on this manner. Read.
and the other said on that
And
manner.
another angel said on that manner. Read.
And there came forth a spirit.
And there came forth a spirit. What is a spirit? Give me Psalm 104 and verse 4. What is a spirit? It says, and there came forth a spirit. So let's see what a spirit is. Read that.
Psalms chapter 104 verse 4. Who maketh his angels spirits.
Who maketh his angels spirits. The spirits are angels. Finish the verse.
His ministers a flaming fire.
His ministers are a flaming fire. Go back to 1 Kings 22, verse 21.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 21. And there came forth a spirit.
And there came forth a spirit. A spirit is an angel. There came forth an angel, read.
And stood before the Lord.
And this angel stood before the Lord, read.
And said, I will persuade him.
And this angel said, I'll deceive Ahab. I'll persuade him. Read.
And the Lord said unto him, wherewith?
The Lord said, wherewith? Read.
And he said,
What did he say?
I will go forth.
Uh-huh.
And I will be a lying spirit.
What type of spirit?
A lying spirit.
He said, I will be a lying spirit, a lying angel. I will be a deceiver. I will be a devil. Read it again.
And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets.
Read.
And he said, thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth and do so.
Go forth and do so, yo. Go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 18.
Book of 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 18. He said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord.
So an angel came to speak unto this old prophet by the word of the Lord, yo. Keep reading.
Saying,
Saying what?
bring him back with thee into thine house,
Saying, bring this man of God from Judah back to your house. Read.
that he may eat bread and drink water.
That he may eat bread and drink water. Read.
But he lied unto him.
But this angel lied unto this old prophet. This angel that lied unto this old prophet was a lying spirit, a lying angel, a deceiver, a devil. And some of you might say, well, why isn't that this old prophet couldn't tell that this was a devil, that this was a lying spirit, that this was a deceiving angel? Give me 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 14.
Book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 14.
Read.
And no marvel, for Satan himself,
Who?
for Satan himself
Read.
is transformed into an angel of light.
For no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Satan or other evil angels, devils, lying spirits, they don't come to you as ugly monsters. No, they come to you as angels of light. They present themselves as good angels, yo. They present themselves as angels on the right-hand side of the Lord. Read it again and read it on down.
Verse 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light.
Read.
Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness.
Read.
Whose end shall be according to their works.
Whose end shall be according to their works. So this angel, this lying spirit that appeared before this old prophet, this angel appeared as an angel of light, even though it was a lying spirit, a deceiving spirit. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 13. Now you may be asking yourself, well, why would God allow this to happen? Deuteronomy 13 and 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 13 verse 1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder,
Read.
and the sign or the wonder come to pass,
Or the sign or the wonder come to pass. Read.
whereon he spake unto thee,
Whereof he spake unto thee. Read.
saying,
Saying what?
let us go after other gods,
Read.
which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet,
Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet. Read.
or that dreamer of dreams.
Or that dreamer of dreams. Why?
For the Lord your God proveth you.
Read that part again.
For the Lord your God proveth you.
For the Lord your God is proving you. Let's see why the Lord is proving you. Read.
To know whether ye love the Lord your God
He wants to know whether you love him. Read.
with all your heart and with all your soul.
He wants to know if you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. Read.
Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him, and cleave unto
And
him.
ye shall serve him and cleave unto him. So the Lord your God will prove you. The Lord God was proving that man of God that came from Judah. The Lord God was proving him to see if he truly loved the Lord thy God, and if he was truly going to serve the Lord. The Lord always proves Israel. He proves us as a nation. He proves us as individuals. Exodus 20. Exodus 20. The Lord always proves us. Exodus 20 and 18.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings, and the lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountains smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off.
Keep reading.
And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die.
Keep reading.
And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to prove you.
For God has come to what?
Prove you.
For God has come to prove you. God always proves the people. Read.
And that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not.
Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 2.
Deuteronomy 8 and 2. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee.
And to what?
And to prove thee.
And to prove thee. The Lord God always proves the people. Read.
To know what was in thy heart.
He wants to know what is in thine heart. What's in your mind. Read.
Whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
Whether you're going to keep his commandments or not. Judges chapter 2 and verse 21.
Judges chapter 2 and verse 21. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died.
Read.
That through them I may prove Israel.
That through them I may what?
Prove Israel.
That I may prove Israel. The Lord always proves the people. He proves Israel, yo. Read.
Whether they will keep the way of the Lord.
Whether we're going to keep his ways, read.
To walk therein.
Whether we're going to walk in his ways, read.
As their fathers did, keep it or not.
As our fathers did, keep it or not. The Lord always proves the people. He always proves Israel, yo. Give me Sirach 6 and 7 real quick. Sirach chapter 6 and 7.
The book of Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7.
Read.
If thou wouldest get a friend,
If thou wouldest get a friend, read.
prove him first.
The Lord's always going to prove the people. He's always going to prove Israel. Before he says Israel is a friend, he is going to prove. You will be in a proving process. Read it again.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first.
Read.
And be not hasty to credit him.
And don't be hasty to credit him. God is not hasty to credit. He's not going to quickly credit you. God always proves the people. He always proves Israel. What does it mean to be a friend to the Lord? John 15. St. John 15 and 14. What does it mean to be a friend to the Lord? How do you make yourself a friend to the Lord?
The book of John chapter 15 verse 14. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you.
The Lord is going to prove. He's going to prove you to see if you're going to do whatsoever it is that he commanded you to do. To see if you are a true friend. The Lord always proves the people. He always proves Israel. Let's go back to the book of 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 18.
1 Kings chapter 13 verse 18. He said unto him, I am a prophet.
Hold on. Is that where I want to start at? No, we already read.
Yeah, we are
We
ready.
read down to 19, 20. Read 19 again.
Verse 19. So he went back with him.
You know what? Read 18. Forget it. Read 18. Read down.
Verse 18. He said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying,
Saying what?
Bring him back with thee into thy house, that he may eat bread and drink water.
That he may eat bread and drink water. This man of God was being proved. He was being proved. Read.
But he lied unto him.
But he lied unto him. So the angel lied to the old man, to the old prophet. He lied to that old prophet. Keep reading.
So he went back with him, and did eat bread in his house, and drank water.
And the man of God that came from Judah, he went back with the old prophet. And he did eat bread, and he did drink water in that place, in Bethel. Keep reading.
And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back.
So the word of the Lord came to the old prophet that brought back the man of God that came from Judah. The word of the Lord came to that old prophet as they sat at the table to eat bread and to drink water. Keep reading.
And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying,
Saying what?
Thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee.
See, remember, the Lord was proving this man of God.
to see if he would keep the commandments or not. This man did not pass. He fell. Keep reading.
But came his back, and has eaten bread, and drunk water in the place of the Lord, of the which the Lord did say to thee, eat no bread, and drink no water.
Read.
Thy
carcass, your dead, lifeless body. Read.
shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers.
You will not be buried where your fathers are buried at. You're not going to be buried with your people. Keep reading.
And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass,
The donkey. Read.
to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back.
Read.
And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way,
So a lion met this man of God that had came up from Judah by the way. Read.
and slew him.
And killed him. Read.
And his carcass
And his carcass, his dead, lifeless body. Read.
was cast in the way,
Was cast in the way, in the roadway. Read.
and the ass stood by it.
And the ass stood by his carcass. Read.
The lion also stood by the carcass.
And the lion also stood by the carcass, the dead, lifeless body of this man of God that had come up from Judah. Read.
And behold, men passed by, and saw the carcass cast in the way.
And people were passing by this roadway, and they all saw the carcass of this man of God in the roadway. Keep reading.
And the lion standing by the carcass. And they came and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt.
In Bethel. Keep reading.
When the prophet that brought him back from the way heard thereof, he said, it is the man of God who was disobedient unto the word of the Lord.
Read.
Therefore the Lord hath delivered him unto the lion, which hath torn him and slain him, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake unto him.
Read.
And he spake to his sons, saying, saddle me the ass.
The donkey. Read.
And they saddled him. And he went and found his carcass cast in the way.
So he found the dead, lifeless body of the man of God from Judah in the way, in the roadway. Read.
And the ass and the lion standing by the carcass.
And the ass and the lion were still by his dead, lifeless body. Read.
The lion had not eaten the carcass,
And the lion didn't even eat the carcass. Read.
nor torn the ass.
And the lion didn't tear or eat the ass either. Read.
And the prophet took up the carcass of the man of God, and laid it upon the ass, and brought it back. And the old prophet came to the city to mourn and to bury him.
And the old prophet came to the city, and he mourned, and he buried his brother, that man of God. Read.
And he had laid his carcass in his own grave. And they mourned over him, saying, alas, my brother.
This right here shows you that this old man, this old prophet was a real prophet. This was a real prophet. Remember when he prophesied to the man of God. Jump back over to verse 20 real quick.
Verse 20. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying,
Saying what?
thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but came his back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of which the Lord did say to thee, eat no bread and drink no water. Thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers.
His carcass did not go to the sepulchre of his fathers. This old prophet's prophecy came to pass. This old prophet was a real prophet. Jump back down to verse 30 again.
Verse 30. And he laid his carcass in his own
And
grave.
he laid his carcass in his own grave. This man of God that came from Judah, his carcass, his body did not go back to the sepulchre of his fathers, just like the old prophet prophesied about. That was a real prophet. You read?
And they mourned over him, saying, alas, my brother. And it came to pass, after he had buried him,
After this old prophet had buried the man of God, read,
that he spake to his sons, saying,
saying what?
when I am dead, then bury me in the sepulchre wherein the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones.
And his sons fulfilled that wish. So with that, I'm going to end this thing. You got something you want to add, bro?
No.
Hey, well, we're going to go ahead and end this thing in the same way that we began this thing. And that's by giving all praises and all honor and all glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his only begotten Son, Jesus the Christ.
Right.
Secondly, I want to say to all of my brothers, all of my sisters out there, Shalom, Shalom and salutations. My name is Chief Priest Lithiyel Ben Israel.
Hey, Shalom Israel. My name is Priest Ron Ben Israel. Hey, let's go ahead and close it out. Hey, always on our social media platform, Holy Nation of Israel, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And as well, you can find me on Facebook at Ron Ben Israel.
You'll find me on Facebook at Lithiyel Ben Israel.
And then when it comes to our YouTube channel, look us up at Straight Gator Israel. And always feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, and follow us. With that, Israel, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom, Israel.